My name is Dana Reyes. I'm 36, and on the morning of my father's 50th year in business, I stood outside his workshop holding a brand new key I'd never get to use, watching a stranger in a golf polo hand out branded pens with my father's company name misspelled on them. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where family secrets come to light and quiet strength wins the day. If this is your first time here, we tell true-to-life stories about ordinary people who finally learn to draw the line with the people they love most. If that's you, drop a comment and subscribe, because this one gets personal fast. I grew up in that workshop. My father, Manny Reyes, has run Reyes Fine Woodworking out of the same converted garage on Birch Street for 50 years. He built our kitchen table, my daughter's crib, half the pews in our church. He taught me to read a tape measure before I could read a book, and he always said the same thing when I got a cut wrong: measure twice. People only remember the mistake, not the reason for it. I became a forensic accountant. I audit small businesses for fraud and bad bookkeeping, which means I spend my days finding the one number that doesn't belong. My family thinks of this the way they think of insurance: nice to have, boring to discuss. At dinner, my older brother Marcus and his wife Priya run the conversation. I'm the one who reviews the contract nobody else reads past the signature line. 18 months ago, my father was diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's. He kept working through it, hands shaking worse on cold mornings, insisting he could still run a router. But the workshop building, the one he'd always rented, never owned, went up for sale when the landlord retired. My father didn't have the capital, and at 71, no bank would touch him for a commercial loan. So I bought it, quietly. $340,000, every dollar my own. Savings, a small inheritance from my mother's side, the sale of a rental property I'd held for a decade. I didn't tell my father. I didn't tell Marcus. I told exactly one person, because staging a 50th anniversary open house for 200 former clients meant I needed help I couldn't manage alone from across town. I told Priya. I put the deed in an irrevocable trust the same month I closed. Dana had learned that lesson the hard way once already from a client whose temporary favor to a relative became a permanent headache. My father would have a lifetime lease at $1 a year, real property tax and insurance covered by the trust, no rent, no risk, no bank ever able to touch it. I had a plaque made for the door. I had a brass key cut, engraved, 50 years, still building. For 3 weeks, Priya helped me stage the open house. She confirmed the caterer. She kept my father busy on Saturdays so I could get the new sign installed. Every time my phone buzzed with her check-ins, I felt lucky to have her in my corner for once. Then, 4 days before the party, a neighbor from Birch Street texted me a photo she thought I'd find funny. A group of 20-somethings in blazers filing into my father's workshop on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying a flip chart and a cooler of cold brew. The caption under the photo, from the company's own event page, read, "Team off-site at Reyes Workshop. Book your creative retreat today." I sat in my car in a parking lot for 11 minutes before I could make myself call the number on the flyer. The woman who answered the booking line was cheerful and fast. Yes, Reyes Workshop was available for corporate off-sites, artisan pop-ups, and maker experiences. Yes, they had 6 events already confirmed through the fall. Yes, the host was fantastic to work with. A guy named Marcus, actually, he'd built the whole listing himself. My own brother. I didn't call him. I drove to the workshop instead, the morning of the party, 3 hours before 200 guests were due to arrive for cake and slideshow. My father was already there in his good shirt, running a cloth over a workbench that had held his hands for half a century, and bolted to the wall by the door. Over the spot where my brass plaque was supposed to go was a laminated sign, Reyes Creative Studio. Bookings and inquiries. See QR code. Marcus came out of the back office holding a clipboard like he owned the place, because as far as he understood it, he practically did. "There she is," he said, like I was the surprise guest at my own plan. "Dana, good, you're early. We're doing a walkthrough with the caterer before the corporate group clears out at 11. "What corporate group?" I said, and I kept my voice level, the way I do in an audit, because that's the only voice that gets a straight answer out of a man like Marcus. He didn't even flinch. He explained it to me the way you'd explain something to a slow client. The building had been sitting there most weekdays, unused, a dead asset, while Dad only worked mornings now. Marcus had listed it for corporate offsites and craft workshops. Dad's tools, Dad's name, Dad's story, All of it great marketing. 6 bookings so far, $2,000 each. Dad hadn't seen a dime yet because Marcus was reinvesting it into the equipment. New folding chairs, a coffee station, a banner. My father stood at his workbench through all of this, saying nothing, running his thumb along a router groove the way he does when his hands need a job to keep steady. "Marcus," I said, "who signed the lease with the landlord to let you book this space?" That's when his smile went thin. "There isn't a landlord anymore, is there? Dad's owned this place forever. He hasn't owned it in 18 months, I said. And I told him. Standing in that workshop, 3 hours before the party, I told my brother that the building belonged to a trust, that my father had a lifetime lease at $1 a year, that no one, not Marcus, not a booking website, not anyone, had any authority to license, lease, or rent a single square foot of it without the trustee's written consent. My father's hands went still on the workbench for the first time all morning. Marcus laughed, but it came out wrong. "Wait, you bought this place and didn't tell me?" Priya walked in from the parking lot right at that moment, holding a sheet cake, and I watched her face do the math in real time. The trust, the deed, the 6 bookings her husband had already spent. And I understood, standing there, that she hadn't just helped me stage a party. She'd handed her husband the address, the layout, and every reason he needed to believe this workshop was finally, at long last, an asset with his name on it too. My mother has a rule for exactly this kind of morning. The party happens no matter what. So at 11, the corporate group cleared out with their flip charts, and at noon, 200 guests started filling the gravel lot outside Reyes Fine Woodworking. Former clients, church friends, 3 generations of apprentices my father had trained for free over the decades. I hadn't planned to say anything at the party. I'd planned to hand my father the brass key quietly after the cake, the way I'd rehearsed it a dozen times in the car. Instead, I spent the afternoon watching Marcus work the crowd in a blazer, shaking hands, laughing at exactly the right volume, building up. I recognized the shape of it from 100 boardrooms to a microphone moment. He got one. My uncle, running the sound system off his phone, called for quiet before the cake and handed my brother the mic like it was the most natural thing in the world. 50 years, Marcus began, warm as anything. And this year, this family did something extra. We didn't just keep Dad's workshop running. We found a way to make it work for him. A creative space, open to the community, generating income so Dad can finally slow down without slowing down the legacy. Applause. Real applause. My father stood near the cake table, jaw tight, saying nothing, the way he does when a cut has gone wrong and he's deciding whether to fix it quietly or call it out loud. I want to tell you the old version of me would have let it go. Fixed it Monday. Called the booking site quietly, gotten the listing pulled, never said a word at the party, because a scene at your father's 50th is the one thing our family has never forgiven anyone for. I stood up anyway. "I want to add something to that," I said, and Uncle Pete, bless him, handed me the mic without asking why. I kept my eyes on my father. 18 months ago, I bought this building. Every dollar was mine. It's held in a trust now. Dad has the right to work here rent-free for the rest of his life, and no one, including me, can ever sell it, lease it, or rent it out from under him. That's not a family project. That's not an income stream. It never was for sale. The yard went quiet enough to hear the cake knife against its plate. Marcus recovered fast, the way he always does. "This is exactly her problem," he said, loud enough for the back row. "She hides everything and then makes the rest of us look like thieves for trying to help." "You booked 6 strangers into Dad's workshop without asking him," I said. "I didn't make that look like anything. It already was that." My father hadn't spoken since the walkthrough that morning. He crossed the gravel slowly, past the folding chairs Marcus had bought with money that was never his, and held his hand out for the microphone. My father's hand shook around that microphone, and for the first time in years, he didn't put it in his pocket to hide it. 50 years ago, he said, I signed a lease on a building I never owned, and I told myself someday I'd buy it outright. Someday got busy raising 2 kids on a carpenter's income. He looked at me, not Marcus. My youngest kept the promise for me, didn't ask me for a thing, just measured it twice and built it right. He raised his cup of lemonade because nobody had thought to pour him champagne. 50 years, still building. Only now it's actually mine. 200 people raised their glasses. Marcus did not. He set his down, gathered Priya, and told the yard they wouldn't be staying to be lectured at during a party that was supposed to be a celebration. They left through the gravel lot before the cake was cut, past the banner Marcus had paid for with a stranger's booking fee. Here's the accounting, since I know you want it. The 6 corporate bookings were canceled and refunded in full once the trust's attorney sent notice. Turns out venue platforms move fast when a legal owner of record calls. Marcus never saw $1 of the deposits he'd already spent on folding chairs and a coffee station he can't return. He's since described himself online as a hospitality consultant, which I am choosing to find funny because the alternative is not funding it at all. Priya and Marcus didn't stay estranged forever. We speak now, carefully, the way you speak to people you've decided to keep at exactly 1 arm's length. My father still works mornings at the shop, hands slower every year, and there's a brass plaque by the door now that reads exactly what I had engraved. 50 years, still building. No lockbox has ever gone on that door, and none ever will. The trust doesn't blink, because trusts don't. I used to believe protecting people meant staying quiet and building the paperwork behind the scenes so I'd never have to raise my voice at a table. My father taught me the harder lesson standing in that gravel lot with a shaking hand on a borrowed microphone. Paper can hold the line, but eventually you still have to be the one standing there when someone tries to cross it. What boundary did you have to draw out loud, in front of everyone, when quiet wasn't enough? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe to Calm Drama Stories, because next week's hits even closer to home. Take care of yourself. That's family, too.